Hello, what are the next steps that you should take following the closing of the H-1B cap lottery registration process? So March was intense and we're not at the end quite yet. So we're going to talk today about what to expect next and what to do next to proactively prepare for next steps for your employees, for our national employees, or prospective employees who are registered in the H-1B lottery, or if you yourself were registered in the H-1B lottery, what to do next. My name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law. Welcome to Live at Lunch, and welcome to everyone who is watching us live and to everyone who is catching us on the replay. I hope if you have questions, you'll put those in the comments, and I'm happy to address them as I can. So the H-1B cap lottery closed. It was supposed to close on Friday, March 22nd at noon. Due to technical issues with the system, they actually extended the deadline for another day, so it closed yesterday on Monday, March 25th. We should have the results of these selections. We should know who was selected, at least in this initial round. There may or may not be additional rounds of selections, but we should know who is selected in this initial round this week. The regulations say that this election should be done on or before March 31st, which is this coming Sunday. It happens to be Easter for anyone who observes that holiday. But we should have information this week. So the way that those selections work is this. If a person, and remember it's a beneficiary-centric selection system this year for the first time. So if a person is selected in the H-1B lottery, we, meaning the immigration attorney and the employer, should receive an email indicating that the person has been selected in the lottery. In addition, that information should be available on the online USCIS portal. I'm speaking at 12:03 p.m. on Tuesday, March 26th. We do not have registration or selection information as of the time that I'm speaking right now. That could change in the near future. It will change, I'm sure, in the next day or two, but we don't have that information right now. But that's how the information will be communicated. You will only know if your case is selected. If your case is not selected, then the status online, we wouldn't receive an email, and the status online would just say submitted. Hopefully it would not say denied because there was something wrong with the registration process itself. But it will just say submitted, and it will stay that way until it'll stay submitted unless you're selected. It will stay saying submitted until the time that USCIS has determined that they have enough selections to cover the 85,000 available H-1B slots. So that could be that happens in the summer. So they may, in other words, once they know with the initial selections, everybody has 90 days to file, which brings us to June 30th. So in July, USCIS should know, okay, do we have enough people who actually submitted a petition to take up these 85,000 slots, or do we need to do another round of selections? If they need to do another round, they will, and that would be in July. Last year it happened towards the end of July. Or if they have enough, then they'll let us know. They'll issue an announcement saying we've met the cap, and they'll change everybody else's status who was not selected to something like not selected. I can't remember the exact wording. So know that it's right as of right now, it's either going to say selected or submitted or denied. Hopefully that's not the case for you if there was something wrong with the registration itself. So if you're not selected right now, know that it's possible, don't hang your hat on it as my recommendation, but it's possible that there would be an additional round of selections coming up in the summer or possibly in the fall. And we'll, of course, keep you posted on that. So let's say that later this week you find out that you were selected. What's the next step then? The next step is to file the H-1B petition. You can file the H-1B petition. The employer, with their immigration attorney, files the immigration petition or the H-1B petition between April 1st and June 30th. A couple things to remember about that. One is that the USCIS fees are increasing starting April 1st. In addition, we will have new form versions. So at least in our office, we are not going to have, USCIS has not officially released, I think they've released a preview just recently, maybe yesterday, of the new form versions, but that information, the new form version, is not available yet. And we don't know who's been selected. So for our office, if you're one of our clients, know that we will not be selecting, we will not be submitting the petition on April 1st itself. We will, of course, submit petitions as soon as possible and streamline the process as much as possible But know that those changes are coming up. The fee increase is happening and new forms, and super fun, we get to send the petitions to a new lockbox and a new filing address, in other words, and there's no grace period for any of that. So lots of changes coming up starting April 1st. So if you're selected, again, know that you have this 90-day time period to submit the H-1B petition. The question of when to file is something that we talk to our clients about. In general, of course, you want to submit your petition as soon as you can. One thing to keep in mind, in addition to those other changes, the fee and the form changes and the filing address location changes, is that if you need to take advantage of cap gap, you need to make sure that the petition is filed before your current OPT expires. So for H-1B cap gap refers to the fact that if a foreign national student on F1 has OPT, and that OPT is going to expire before October 1st of this year. So October 1st is the first date that the H-1B status could potentially become effective, assuming the H-1B petition is approved by then. So let's say that you or one of your employees has OPT and their OPT expires July 1st. I'm just making this up. Or actually, let's make it during the 90-day period. Let's say that it expires May 15th, just making that up. Then the H-1B cap gap regulation says that as long as certain conditions are met, we have to request a change of status. We have to file the petition before the current H-1B petition, the current OPT expires. But as long as certain conditions are met, as long as we meet those conditions, then the foreign national student's work authorization is automatically extended to October 1st. But again, one of the key components of that is you have to file the H-1B petition before the current OPT expires. So that's something to keep in mind. Otherwise, you can file, pretty much anytime during that 90-day window. The sooner the better in general. But there is no advantage. Once you're selected in the cap, you're selected. And it's not like there's this big rush to get the petition in. We would, at least within our practice, we would rather, of course, submit it as soon as we can. Everybody is interested in doing that, of course. But we also want to make sure it's well prepared. We have all the documentation. We're reducing the chances of an additional request for evidence down the road. So that is when to file the H-1B petition. What if you don't get one of those coveted email notifications saying that your employee or you were selected in the H-1B lottery? First, take a deep breath. One of my coping mechanisms is dark chocolate. Whatever your healthy coping mechanism is, this is not medical advice. Go for it. But it is stressful. My point is, it's a stressful situation. And the chances of being selected in the lottery, at least the past several years, have not been high. So there is a good chance that you potentially would not be selected in the lottery or your employee. Hopefully that'll be better this year. The numbers will be better this year, but we'll have to see. So if you're not selected in the lottery, take a deep breath, process the emotions, and then think about the next step in your process. As I said last week, we are hosting a free webinar on Wednesday, April 3rd at noon Eastern, and I'll drop the link to register for that in the comments here below. But we're hosting a free webinar about options beyond the H-1B, and there are options beyond the H-1B. You may not love them. They may not be ideal, but there are options outside of the H-1B. So that webinar, again, is this coming a week from tomorrow, Wednesday, April 3rd at noon Eastern. I'll drop the link to register in the comments below. So I hope you'll join us for that. Invite your friends, invite colleagues who might find this information helpful. And I'll be talking about it in addition in subsequent lives, but there are options beyond the H-1B. I do think that it's important to look at where you are. I'll speak kind of high level now to what you should think about if you're not selected in the lottery. Think about where you are now. If you or your employee is, let's say that you're on the first 12 months of OPT and you're eligible for STEM OPT, then maybe you decide that you'll just keep working for now using your OPT or STEM OPT and register in subsequent years. Maybe you decide to do that, and you as the employer decide also that you're really loving this person. You want to keep them on as long as you can, and you decide to start the green card process. That can be a possibility as well. Keep in mind the green card process is not an immediate solution by any means, but it can be a key part of the long-term strategy, long-term immigration strategy. So it may be that you start the green card process. It may be that you look at a family-based immigration process instead of, or in addition to, the employment-based options. It may be that you're able to change status, or your employee is able to change status to a different visa classification. For every letter of the alphabet, there's a different visa classification, and then almost every letter, and then subclassifications within that. So it could be that there are other options beyond it's likely that there are other options beyond the H-1B. It just may not be as clean or what you had in mind. But there are options. So I hope you'll join us for that webinar where we'll dive in more detail into the options beyond the H-1B. Otherwise, for now, I hope that everyone is able to celebrate the fact that we got through the H-1B registration process. This year was a little trickier than previous years because they changed the process a bit. They changed the organizational counts, and it was there were some technical difficulties with USCIS's platform. So it was a journey to get there, but all of our clients were successfully registered. And I hope you're able to celebrate that fact, take a deep breath, sit back for a minute, and serenely as possible. I know lots of people are on the edge of their seats. I know this is a life-changing thing for a lot of people, but to wait as patiently as we can for the results of the H-1B lottery, which, like I said, should be coming out at the end of this week or during this week, at least. Our process with our clients is we let employers know as soon as we have information about selections and then outline the next steps going forward. And then we also let clients know if they were not selected. So USCIS will let us know too once they have done the initial rounds of selections. So once that's done for clients who are not selected, we'll send an email to those employers to let them know, unfortunately, you weren't selected at this time and the selection process is closed for now. Like I said, there may be additional rounds later in the summer and or in the fall, and we'll keep you all posted on that. So this is the conclusion of this week's Live at Lunch. I hope that you will join us next week at noon. In addition, make sure that you are following us on whichever platform you are watching us on, whether that's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, whatever platform you're on right now. I hope that you will subscribe so you don't miss our next video. My name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law. Until next time.